Okay, we are live. It's going live in 60 seconds. And then once 1:30 hits, we are live. We got two people watching, probably me and my phone.
Oh, man.
All right. Oh, okay. So we are live. Do y'all want to give it a minute, or y'all want to go right now?
It's up to you, really.
I mean, we can go. We can just start. Like, hey, welcome to FTW Basketball Roundtable. I'm Evan Thorpe. We got Charles Curtis. We got Mike Sykes. We got Brian Kobrowski. Did I get it right, Brian? All right. So we're here to talk some playoff basketball, and let's start with what the title says. It's LeBron James and the Lakers in trouble. We saw Game 1, Phoenix surprised a lot of people, beat them at home. But when you're the top seed, you're supposed to win at home. But are the Lakers in trouble, Charles? Let's start with you.
No, we can't. Why are we counting out LeBron James all of a sudden? And I did say this before the playoffs, I think, or one of us said it on the site. I mean, I think that the issue here is this is a young-ish Phoenix Suns team, and this is a very veteran-savvy bunch of players on the Lakers. I'm not counting the Lakers out at all. However, this is something we were discussing before we got on here. I do agree with something, Evan, that you said. Like, who's defending Devin Booker? Chris Paul's so savvy; he knows what the heck he's doing. And his mid-range game, as he saw in Game 1, he's on all the time. I don't think this is a sweep by the Suns. I think the Suns have a real shot here, but I'm not counting out the Lakers yet. You know, we still have yet to see 4 or 5 more games down the road what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I'm not sure which direction I'm going on this one quite yet, but I do know that I'm not that confident in the Lakers winning this one. Like after losing Game 1, and really it was the way that they lost Game 1, right? It was the things lined up perfectly for them to win with Chris Paul going out early. Then you had Devin Booker after Chris Paul going out. He had a little bit of a lull in otherwise what was a great game from him. And then like you have LeBron hitting all of these threes, but like the Lakers couldn't hit a bucket from outside. AD just didn't look that great. DeAndre Ayton, as quiet as kept, may have been the best Sun on the floor that afternoon. Like they just look extremely impressive. So like, yeah, they're young, but clearly this team is ready. And like playing the Lakers doesn't phase them. And that's something that I feel like was missing from a lot of the teams that they played against, the Lakers played against in the bubble last year. Like they were scared of LeBron.
I got to push back, I think, on this. I think realistically, no one expected this series to go 4 games. Phoenix is supposed to win a couple games at home, and they did. They took care of their job. But LeBron James is LeBron James, and I don't care if he says he's not going to be 100% of the player that he was before the recent injury. Realistically, 95%, 90, 85% of LeBron James is still one of the best players of all time, at his current age still. So when I look at the playoffs, I look at experience, and I think that coming off of a championship, the Lakers should still be favored to win the championship this year, despite going down 1 game early. And I'm not exactly concerned about what I saw from the first game. The biggest thing for me right now is just rotation. I don't like the rotation that Vogel's been putting out with Andre Drummond getting so many minutes and leaving Marc Gasol on the bench. I think that the spacing is just completely off with that, completely clogs the floor with Andre Drummond in the dunker spot. With Gasol operating as a playmaker at the top of the key, they get a lot better. And I think LeBron and AD is more space to work with near the basket.
Yeah,
Did they go down?
Yeah, is Cam Payne also? This is my thing. Is Cam Payne going to score 24 a game like this whole series? He scored 24 the first game. Like, come on, this is not happening. He had a great year. Don't get me wrong. Like, great to see. Nice comeback. This is, you got to give it some time.
We're just losing a lot of the context here. Like, yes, it's LeBron James, and dude is top 3 all time, bare minimum, right? But like, this is also the first time we've seen LeBron James look human, like And that's the thing that like no one has said yet. Like the ankle is clearly bothering him. Like he looked fine last game as far as like his numbers were concerned, but you could still see that like that explosiveness that we're used to was not there. The Warriors game before that, he looked really bad. Like he just wasn't the same LeBron. And then on top of that, you got AD who's dealing with what he's dealing with as far as injury, and it's like all of that mixed together, and then the Andre Drummond minutes, and then like the chemistry problems that this team seems to have. Like this team is not the same LeBron team that we're used to. So I can't look at it through the same exact lens. Like, yes, LeBron is LeBron, but this feels a little different. I'm not picking the Suns outright right now. Like that's not what this is. But like we can't act like this is the same old story with Bron and his squad.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, though, I don't think that last year's Lakers team was particularly all that great either. I think that this year's Lakers team has even more depth, and they're coming off of the confidence of winning the championship. I think they made a lot of roster improvements, and last year's team, despite winning the title, I think had a lot of flaws and a lot of weak spots, a lot of glaring holes. And I really do like the players that they brought in. I mean, I do think that Schroeder and Harrell are better options than anything else the Lakers had last year. In the minutes beyond LeBron and Marc Gasol, and Anthony Davis. So I think that there's a lot of improvements that have been made. And last year's Lakers team still won the championship.
If there's anything to look forward to if you're a Lakers fan, each game in the West, the conference last year, they lost game one. So if anything, they're just on schedule to do like they did last year. Sweep the remaining 4 games, and then head on to the next one. The next series we're going to look at was the game last night, Denver-Portland. You had a big performance from Dame, but too much Jokic down the line, and now the series tied 1-1. What are we expecting more from this series? More of game one where, Portland is connecting and you – sorry, I saw a comment. And you're struggling to catch up if you're Denver, or is just – you get a strong performance from Dame, but not everybody else. Like, what are we looking forward to in the remaining games of the series?
Yeah, I don't feel like we saw Portland's best last night, but I also feel like Portland's best doesn't exactly line up to what Denver is about to give us, right? Like I felt like coming into this, the Nuggets would win this series, like not handily, but they would definitely. I felt like it would be like a 4-2, maybe 4-1 in a close fifth game type of series, and that's what I still have that vibe. Like now that we have Jokic, kind of, I mean, he went off in game one too, but like now his teammates are kind of stepping up. Michael Porter Jr. looked really good last night after looking pretty terrible in game one, and you've got Aaron Gordon locking up Damian Lillard in that second half. Like this team is scary, honestly.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to go with this. I was like, basically, this is going to come down to one matchup. It's Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon versus Dame, because he locked him down in the second half, which was crazy. But that's exactly what the Nuggets traded for. So if that happens, which again, this is not going to happen that often, because we were talking about Damian Lillard, who's one of the best scorers in the league, one of the best leaders. But realistically speaking, you know what you're going to get from CJ McCollum. You know that guys like Norm Powell and Nurk and Bob are all going to kind of contribute here and there. It comes down to, are we going to see Dame throw up 50, 60 the rest of the way? And is Gordon, going to be able to step up? The other guy, Facundo Campazzo. What a player. What a magician. Like, love that guy. I mean, I saw the highlights, last summer when they were talking about signing him. And I was like, who is this guy? And it turns out he's no Jamal Murray, but man, this guy can play.
Yo, they gotta get him out of there for that flop last night, though. I'm sorry.
That's part of his game. Don't you understand? That's part of the magic.
Charles, can we get one more pronunciation check on the way you
Facundo Campazzo? Did I do it right?
He's Argentinian, we realize, right? He's not on The Sopranos. I mean, Campazzo is a very special player. I love what he's able to do despite his size deficit. I really like his defensive play. But the truth is that, I mean, yes, they had Aaron Gordon switch on to Dame. Dame can drop 50 and 60 any given night. So the idea of him being able to do that, super realistic. And I think that whether or not he's able to do that enough to win 4 games might be beyond the realm of possibility. But if there is somebody in the NBA, I believe, to do it that's not named Stephen Curry, Damian Lillard is that guy, and he's the only one that's still left in the playoff standing. I think that, while Portland might not be the toughest test for Denver right now without Jamal Murray, I also still think that at the end of the day, that Jamal Murray injury is going to hurt them long term. But Porter's been stepping up. He's a really, really impressive young player. And I think that even if Portland's not the team that's going to take him down, I'm not sure if Denver's championship odds are exactly as high as I would have liked them to have been for the Nuggets fans before they traded Jamal.
You also can't have Melo, by the way, scoring 5 points in 21 minutes. Like, that's a guy who needs to have a bigger game. But you see this season go up and down. Yeah.
Like, if you're depending on Melo to make a difference in the playoffs for you,
couldn't have said it better. Yeah.
I just don't know how much of a chance you have.
No, it's a totally fair point.
Next series, we're going to look at somebody screaming, talk about Luka. Here you go, my friend. We're going to talk about Dallas Clippers. And pretty much what we kind of saw last year. Luka can take over a game in the fourth. The Clippers with Ty Lue, they're trying to play some zone. They're trying to switch everything. I think the Clippers are in trouble. I think Luka is about to show the world, like, hey, I'm right there to become the next best thing. Maybe after LeBron leaves, you're going to have Giannis, him, probably some of those young guys that we're going to talk about later. But he's showing that with that next crop of players, like, he's the face of that group. And do you think that he'll prove to fans, like, hey, I took down Kawhi, who's supposed to be this, magician with playoff P? Are we going to see an upset with the 5-4 seed?
I mean, Luka is one of the most talented basketball players I've ever seen in my entire life. And I think that it's getting to the point where it's becoming harder and harder for anyone to say anything but that. I mean, even last year in the playoffs, he had some moments where it was just truly unbelievable what he's able to do on the floor. And that's a bad matchup for the Clippers. I mean, obviously, they have to beat everybody to win the championship. But for a first-round draw, having to go against someone like Luka Doncic is just not an easy task. And I think that if there's any, like, Luka just continues to dazzle me. I'm obsessed with watching him.
It isn't delicious, though. Like, the Clippers played this, allegedly, I don't want to accuse anybody of tanking, but those last two games, one against the Thunder, like, losing out so they could avoid the Lakers. If they end up losing this series because of that, oh, man, I cannot wait to rub my hands in it and start typing about it. But, like, yeah, you guys have heard this. You out there on the internet, we've talked about MVP candidates beginning of the year. I was like Luka. And though he didn't start that way, he looks like it. And I think, yeah, if he takes down Kawhi, we are going to be talking about next year, if he plays at that level, he can take down great defenders, all-time great defenders like Kawhi. And I would be shocked to see the Mavs. And the Mavs supporting cast, let's give them a little shout out. Like, they have really come – you have a bunch of players who come into their own. You get a little bit of Porzingis. He's not always your number two option. Hardaway's become this really talented scorer, a defender, a dependable kind of guy. I could see the Mavs winning this series.
Yeah, I can definitely see the Mavs winning it too, but I'm still taking the Clippers in this one because I don't really trust the Mavs supporting cast like that. Like, you're never gonna have an answer for Luka Doncic. Like, that just is what it is. But, like, if you're gonna have Dorian Finney-Smith going crazy like you did in Game 1, if you're gonna have Tim Hardaway Jr. Looking like the new Klay Thompson or something like that in Game 1, like, then, I mean, you got to tip your cap. But I felt like the Clippers overall played a really good game. They were right in it up until the end. The Mavs just made a few more plays than they did, and they stole Game 1. So, like, I think the Mavs could easily win this series. I think it could go. I think this is one of the ones that could go 7. But I'm still riding with the Clippers. I just think that they've got the better two players as far as a combo, and then their supporting cast is also just better to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point about the Mavericks depth, Dorian Finney-Smith was surprisingly excellent down the stretch. And I think Jalen Brunson should have gotten more buzz for sixth man of the year than the guy who actually won it. I mean, Jalen Brunson was just, in terms of backup point guards go, everything you could ever ask for, in your second unit floor general. So I do like Dallas's depth. I mean, I think I would still pick the Clippers as well, just because their 1-2 matches up with just about anybody, in the NBA. But the Mavericks depth definitely does deserve a little bit of a salute.
All right, last series in the West, we're going to talk about another young star, Ja Morant. He leads his team. into the play-in tournament, that last play-in game versus the Warriors, and people are like, "Oh, that was just enough for him." Nope. Takes on the number 1 seed, beats them in the first game, and this looks like a series where he can really show people like Luka, like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm ready to show the world. I'm just not a highlight package. I'm a baller, and I'm going to lead my team to, hopefully an 8-1 upset."
Yeah, nah, this is cool. This is cool. Love Ja Morant. Love what the Grizzlies are doing, man. It was really cool to see them ball out in the play-in game and then do the same thing in game 1. Like, Dillon Brooks has been extremely impressive, but the Jazz are a better team, dude. And like I feel like I don't want to dismiss the Grizzlies completely because like they're a good team also, but like the Jazz, I just feel like they played the worst possible game they could have in game 1, and they didn't have Donovan Mitchell. Like and that's kind of the thing that I had my eye on is like, when is he coming back? What's going on with that situation? Because it seems
he's supposed to be coming back next game. They said next game he's likely to return.
But we thought the same in game 1. He wasn't there, so like
Right.
I don't know. Hopefully he's back healthy, but like if they get him back, when they get him back, I don't give the Grizzlies much of a chance.
I just want to say that I think I am somebody who really obsesses over the NBA draft, and every year when I watch what the Grizzlies do in the draft, I just think that's exactly what a smart general manager and a smart front office would have done. This year, they've gotten insane value from the players they got from Desmond Bane and Xavier Tillman. I interviewed both those guys. Of the 45 prospects that I interviewed, both of them were probably in the top 5 of just guys who I was like, I'm going to buy all of the stock in you right now. And they made moves to get them. And when you look at an organization like the Celtics, who traded for the Grizzlies pick and ended up using it on Aaron Smith, who has not had the same season that Desmond Bane has had, who they got later, it just makes you think about how you structure a team and what that kind of does in a front office. And I think that I trust Memphis' front office to keep making the right moves. Jaren Jackson Jr. was a hell of a pick. Obviously, the John Morant pick was the obvious one, but you center it around Ja and you keep adding talent, you're going to be up there with Utah sooner than later, because Ja is that kind of player. He is that kind of franchise number 1, and they're going to have all of the role players you could possibly imagine. And as somebody who went to Oregon, I watched a lot of Dillon Brooks, and he was not this guy in college. I mean, he is hacking everybody, just a complete irritant on defense, and somebody who has just become truly like one of the more impactful defenders in the league, in terms of the fact that whenever you see him on the floor, he is making a difference. He is getting in front of somebody. He is bothering them. So he's come a long way in the year since I started watching him as a freshman.
I love how we're talking about the Grizzlies like they're going to lose the series. They might win the series. That's like crazy to me. I don't totally see it, because if Mitchell's back and not ticked off about whatever happened with the decision to sit out in game 1, then this team will fly by fairly easily. However, Dillon Brooks, yeah, he's so big. When did that happen? You call me casual, whatever, but like watching the playing game and watching this game, he is huge and in more ways than one. And that to me is almost as important, if not more important, than Ja Morant. I'm not saying that what you're going to get out of Ja Morant is what I'm saying. But if Dillon Brooks is going to go score 31 points every game this series, it's going to be a series. Ja just needs to shoot better. He did in the playing game, and I was really impressed by that. And I want to give a shout out to Slow-Mo, because Kyle Anderson has been good for my fantasy team for so many years. That guy is just everywhere, whether it's pushing Rudy Gobert while in a scuffle and or like moving to the hole and literally in slow motion, earning his nickname. And yeah, Tillman, only played 8 minutes in that game, was huge in the playing game. I'd like to see if those young guys can step up. Otherwise, you know what you're running into. Yes, Jalen Brunson's great, but to me, Jordan Clarkson absolutely made this team a number 1 seed in terms of being an X factor. And I'd like to see more of the same. He only had 14 points in the first game. So, you got all these X factor guys. You know what you're getting out of your superstars. Those are the guys who are going to decide the series.
Speaking of Kyle Anderson, he's the only person I've ever seen to jog on a fast break, and was the only person down there when he started, and had like 3 people chase him from behind. So he is a slow-mo. We're going to head into the East now. Let's go into the game that we had last night. Milwaukee, they pretty much had everything connecting for them from the start of the game. Miami's down 0-2 in a series where last year this team was the one that beat the Bucks. So it's looking like that Drew Holiday trade's paid off for the Bucks, at least for this matchup against the Heat.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Holiday is just, 7 first-round picks better than Eric Bledsoe. I think that's probably the best way to put it for me. If you look at his impact, it's not only was it to keep Giannis around, but Drew Holiday really is that much better at this point. And I think that New Orleans was kicking themselves all year probably for that trade. Although they're an asset management, it's a little bit different, but they certainly missed a player like Drew Holiday all season long. I'm sure they wish they had him down the stretch when they were vying for a playoff spot. And I know Milwaukee has got to be incredibly glad to have him. And Bryn Forbes, I don't know where that came from. I mean, that was just superhuman last night. I mean, the way that he literally looked like he had flames coming out of his hands every time he touched the ball.
That's another ex-Spur right there. Come on. It's all pop players who are making impacts here in the playoffs.
Yeah, I feel like the Drew trade really did make all of the difference here. And it's great to see from a fan perspective, because Milwaukee is one of the best teams in the NBA. You don't want to just see that sort of blow up in their faces like it potentially could have. Trading all those picks for Drew Holiday, if he comes there and he's not as good as they want him to be, then that's a problem. But you get to playoff time and you do all this work, you change up all your defensive schemes and you try all these different things to get to this point, to have enough to throw at the Heat to sort of get them out of their game, and boom, it works. And Drew Holiday is a major part of it. So it's really encouraging. Like I said, for me, from just a fan perspective, a fan of the game of basketball, to see this working out, it's really dope.
Can I also just say that Giannis's brother has got to be one of the best bench mob players ever?
Oh my god, that dude is so
cute,
hype, bro!
Is he still tapping before Giannis free throws? Is that happening still? I saw it early in the season where he I think he tapped the floor or something.
He's doing everything.
He's earning that contract as a hype man.
Yeah.
I don't have much more to add than that, except that it's shocking. I think also all season long we didn't talk at all or write at all about the Bucks, and I think that's just indicative. We've come to expect a certain level of excellence from them, and if we're seeing it now, that's the biggest story in the NBA, because obviously it's sort of well, Giannis got his extension, he got all his money. Is he going to ever want out while he's under that contract? And so when you see this, it's like you said, Sykes, the idea of you don't want to see this thing blow up. This is very heartening to see. On the other hand, the Heat made the finals last year, and Dwayne Dedmon was the best player on the floor for them. So that can't happen. It's crazy. I think you need more from Duncan Robinson. I think you need Kendrick Nunn not to shoot 4-14. There is a lot of stuff we're seeing from the Heat that's not great. And being down 2-0 to this team, I don't think they dig themselves out of it.
Just don't forget about #Heat culture, because
hold on, I gotta show you this, guys.
What they really need is for Jimmy Butler to play better, right? Because he's been pretty bad. 12th man.
That's very good.
That would be an amazing award. But no, Jimmy Butler just has to play better, right? And I think he will. Once they head back home for games 3 and 4, we haven't seen the best or the last of the Miami Heat. So I still think this will be a pretty good series. But last night was just whew. That definitely felt like a sweep last night.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there who were talking about how they would take Tyler Hero ahead of RJ Barrett in a redraft, and they just look sort of foolish right now.
Okay, that's fine.
That was a popular take on the playoffs last year.
It was.
That feels so good to hear. That's all
right. Let's go to probably the most hyped team to watch this year, the Brooklyn Nets. They had a close game in that first half where they were trailing Boston, and then that third quarter happened, and then pretty much this is what everybody expects when you have 3 all-star players on the team. Is Boston showing that, they can make this a series, or are they just going to have to handle too much of KD, Kyrie, and then Harden, who's coming back from being rested or injured towards the end of the season?
I really don't feel like the Celtics stand a chance in this one. Like the Nets, they didn't even look like they had played together in game one. And they just like by the end of the game, they just got it together and just got buckets, man. And it was just like, bro, like you get the performance that you got out of Robert Williams. And like that's exactly what you want if you're the Celtics. Like you need that center position to play extremely well. They got it, and for a while they looked like they were in good shape, and then the Nets just did their Nets thing, and here we are. So I don't see this being a very good series for the Celtics.
Brian, go ahead.
Did we lose Brian?
Oh, was Brian? Oh, I thought he was frozen.
I'll talk. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Celtics don't stand a chance. This is not happening. Like, there is no way. I was doing the math while Brian's gone. The big three in the Nets scored 82 points. The Nets as a team scored 104 points. What does that tell you? You're not stopping the All-Stars here. This series is over. We can move on. We can talk about them in the semis and then in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then we'll talk about who can defend the big three, because there's nobody on the Celtics who can stop this team. Like, this series is over. Enough said. Brian's going to the game, so he can enjoy the sweep from up close.
No, I mean, there's just so little to be said. Like, I think that the main factor that I think comes down to my analysis here is just that if the Nets win the championship this year, like, the regular season just could not matter less, because it showed that as long as you make the playoffs, you don't have to show any chemistry, any building during the season. So that's kind of the main thing I'll be keeping my eye on, is just the ramifications it has for future regular seasons.
Oh, we can have a season tournament. Great, yeah.
We're going to see if that chemistry is going to have a problem when they play a team like the Bucks next round, where you know, this team has been playing together. They added a piece to it. So we'll see if that chemistry becomes a concern when you place a better team. Next up, I think we're going to save the New York one for last, just because I feel like that one has, you know, a lot of energy coming from the top right in this chat. So we're going to talk about the Sixers, the Wizards. I'm a Sixers fan, and I'm going to just say the fact that Embiid was out for the first half and we got 3 strong quarters out of Tobias just showed that once Embiid is not in foul trouble, like this could be a 5-game gentleman's sweep. And Sykes will have to wear a Philadelphia 76ers jersey on special delivery, which you can catch on USA Today Sports YouTube page. Do we have anything to really say about this? I mean, it could be close. Brad Beal could possibly score 60 and keep them in, but I don't know what to expect from the Wizards.
I'm nervous about talking about the Wizards with Sykes because the Twitter mob comes for him fast.
Oh my god!
I don't know if I want to be affiliated with that.
I'm very nervous about saying anything here. Like, I don't really want to upset anybody. I don't think the Wizards stand much of a chance. And I felt like game 1 was their game to steal, where you did have Embiid in foul trouble and like Tobias Harris was giving you buckets. It's like, bro, like, if you're not gonna play Isaac Bonga, or you're not gonna play Anthony Gill, and you're gonna guard Tobias Harris with Raul Neto or whatever, like what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? I don't know. Don't make me talk about my team.
It's just a bad matchup. That's all I gotta say. Like,
no, it's not just a bad matchup. They're just not that good.
Yeah, he was saying it all season. Yeah, just go. You know what? Everybody go to Sykes' Twitter, and then you can see exactly just his thoughts every night, every day about the Wizards. He's been talking about them tanking and here they are.
The only thing I'm excited about is Rui Hachimura getting playoff experience.
Yes,
and Bradley Beal buckets. But that's
like, where do you think the Wizards would have finished in the West?
13.
Yeah, I don't know if they win more than 25 games. They're probably where the Kings are, honestly.
That was my thought. Yeah.
I think they're at fairly yeah, that's fair.
All right. We saved the best for last. We have a New York cap in the video, but Brian's not a Knicks fan. Charles Curtis is a Knicks fan, and he has been through the highs and lows. I mean, we had a meme going on in our Slack channel. Whenever you put up Knicks, it was a sad picture of Charles from the draft. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. Now we have an improved, happy Charles with a Knicks hat on. Game one was probably the best game of the weekend to me, just because the energy the New York crowd brought to the game, to just witness that through my TV, I was like, wow, if you're there, you're enjoying a treat. But Trae Young said, I'm not here to treat y'all. I'm here to show y'all that I'm the truth. Ice cold. You know, he shut that noise up. Spike was quiet on the sideline. What are we looking forward to with this matchup? Because this could go one of two ways. This could be another young guy taking over, showing that he's here, or we could finally have the Knicks get into the second round of the playoffs where, you know, they have a nice matchup if the Sixers come out.
Okay, so where do I begin? Okay. First of all, Bill de Blasio is saying, like, oh, like, Trae Young chasing foul is not a good thing. No, it's fine. Like, the lights go out on me. The lights go out on me. Let's go. Let's start it all over again. Bill de Blasio talking about Trae Young chasing fouls is a bad thing. No, it's a good thing. Like, much respect to Trae Young. Like, what he did in game one when he took over is exactly what I've heard from Sykes and Brian and Evan all year. Like, Trae Young obviously is a superstar. And to see him come into a place now where his court vision has become 10 times better, his, you know, those teardrop runners, like, still working, and he, you know, finds the open man. Like, he can do it all. That was not a foul in game one with under, what was it, 45 seconds left that they reviewed because Tibbs saved his timeout for them. Like, that was not a foul. I do not understand why you're calling ticky-tacky fouls with under 45 seconds left to go. And you couldn't overturn it. I get that. I understand that. That's the first thing. Second thing, why is Tibbs bringing in an ice-cold Frankie Smokes into the game to defend Trae Young on the key possession of the whole game? Like, obviously, he's a decent defender. I'm not going to say a solid defender. We thought that a few years ago. Not happening. Why are you bringing him in? He's cold. He's cold. Ice cold. So don't do that again, please. Third, Elfrid Payton shouldn't play a minute. I know he played 8 minutes. He should play less than that, maybe 0 minutes. And just Derrick Rose will play the whole game. Is that all for my rant? Julius Randle will play better in game two. You got to hand it to the Hawks. They defended him well. DeAndre Hunter played very well. The end.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I have to yield to Charles on Knicks takes, but at the end of the day, like, I think bigger picture, something that I think about a lot of times is just sort of who is a good coach in the NBA and how much of it is just talent. Like, how many coaches could have coached that Warriors team to the championships they won? I think pretty much all of them, all the coaches, that is. When I start thinking about, like, how many coaches are, like, actually, like, really good, like, obviously Eric Spoelstra, Greg Popovich, guys who have won championships with multiple iterations of a roster. But what Thibodeau has done this year from a coaching perspective to get his guys to buy in and play hard when, you know, that team does not have the second player that, you know, most other playoff teams have. Even Atlanta, you know, the Trae Young, John Collins duo is fairly elite. Like, the Knicks don't have a duo like that. To be able to have those guys as far as they've played, like, Tibbs deserves so much more respect than I ever was prepared to give to him. So I'm definitely blown away by the job he's done since the beginning of the season till the end.
Yeah, Trae Young have all day, bro. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, I was fairly impressed because, like, coming into the playoffs, I did have questions about, like, how Trae Young would match up with playoff physicality and defense, right? And, like, how he would react when teams attacked him in isolation on defense in the playoffs, because that's what the playoffs is, right? It's targeting that one matchup and going at it over and over and over again until you can milk that advantage to the most you can possibly milk it. And like, he shocked me, like, surprised me to the point where I was like, you know, maybe Trae Young is a lot better than I give him credit for. And I give him a lot of credit. He really picked the Knicks defense apart in the fourth quarter with like 4 or 5 pick and rolls in a row. And it's like, yo, like, when you see that kind of thing from a player, that's how you know, like, this dude, he's pretty special. He's pretty special. So like, I gotta say, I'm very very elated to see this Trae Young praise all over my timeline, especially after all season seeing everybody complain about how he just draws fouls by twerking on people. So
Bogdan Bogdanovic, by the way, here's a what if for you. What if he'd stayed with the Bucks and not, that deal hadn't fallen through? But he is a heck of a player, man, and a guy that every time he shoots the ball, you bite your nails. So that is what I will be looking at in game 2, is like sitting there going, God, don't let him shoot the ball. But yeah, I think they will. I think the Knicks will win game 2, mostly because I will be there. And also breaking news that I can break on YouTube, according to Shams and Woj and all that group, that they've done the 2021 NBA draft tiebreakers, and the Knicks have beaten the Hawks in that. They are picking 19th over Atlanta 20th. So
is this a Charles bomb? Did we just get a Charles bomb?
Big victory. I'm just reading Twitter. I'm just reading Twitter. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, well, that was our first round NBA playoff predictions. Look ahead, look through. I pretty much think that's it. Anybody have any final words before we log off?
Trae Young high for life.
No.
Brian?
I hope the Mets get healthy soon, the New York Mets. That'll be really nice.
All right, guys, thank you for watching, and look forward to more content like this, especially with the NBA playoffs coming around. See you guys later.